Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to Limitless Crypto. In this video, I'm going to talk about two short trades that I'm interested in regards to a Bitcoin potential dumping scenario, bringing price all the way down to the mid 30 levels. All right. We have been speculating a lot of people are extremely bearish here. However, I do believe that there is at least one bounce to the upside required for that particular move to the downside. By the way, it's important for you to smash up that like button here. We have a beautiful new channel. You're still one of the early birds. We have already a massive community in Discord right now, and hit the notification bell because we go live 5 days a week, where we talk about the best possible trading setups on a day-to-day basis. So it's perfect for you as a trader. When talking about the news and when everyone is so super bullish because of the spot ETF here, just always take in consideration that your macro key levels on the higher time frame are always key and leading the way here, especially when looking and waiting for particular confirmations that we did not get when we actually saw price stepping into these type of levels here. Number one was, of course, that horizontal, that Fibonacci retracement. Okay, we saw this high at around 69 all the way to the low at 15. Coming back to the 618 Fibonacci right here on the weekly time frame. You see clearly the moment we tapped into that Fibonacci level right here, we saw a significant rejection. Now combine this, of course, with that trend that we have been breaking right here. We had this beautiful trend line build up. This was a fantastic one. We built it, we flipped it. This is where the bull run officially actually started. We shoot up, we expanded, we pulled back. We had one more expansion to the upside, of course, creating that top. And therefore, we started to sell off here. And this was actually when the bear market started, roughly at the beginning of 2022 here. This is the first time since 2022, so May 2022, that we actually retested that trend line right now. So it's again the combination of the 618 Fibonacci with that trend line, with of course this area of supply here on the weekly as well, that you can confirm by looking at this drop off, this base, and this drop off followed by that retest, and therefore that sell right here. So this is where price pulled into before we started to sell off here. Now combine this, of course, also with the horizontal array, which is actually a volume profile right here, which you can align perfectly with, using the fixed range volume profile. It kind of measures the volume of a range. And whenever it comes to either one of these three lines here, this is the value area high, it can represent a hidden area of resistance, which usually reflects that there were a lot of orders placed roughly around these particular levels. And therefore volume, of course, equals, resistance support due to the fact that there were many orders placed around these levels right there. So therefore, specifically, we came to the 49.6, and that's exactly where we topped out as well at that particular moment. Now combine this with then a horizontal level, and you have kind of all the confluences you need in order to move forward here. So therefore, it's very important to look for that confirmation, to look for that rejection, and therefore, when everything comes together, you can see clearly that it's just extremely hard to break through that momentum here, to continue that momentum and to break through these key levels here. There are rarely instances where these weekly or on the weekly time frame you see so many different confluences coming together, facing that massive resistance here. So there is always how do you say it, a paradox where you're always looking for an invalidation level. So you should always think, okay, what invalidates then that bias? Well, number one, I think the $50,000 would have been a fantastic target. A closure above the $50,000, preferably actually the $52,000, that could lead into a bounce off back to support, to then look for further continuation towards these highs here. And that would then, of course, invalidate this overall bias right now. But so far, you can see clearly that we have been struggling, that this weekly candle is also looking very weak. We don't have any bottom wick right now at the moment. And we have tried to push up here, but it seems that we're overextended and we have to kind of, look for a pullback towards the downside here. It's also important to mention that grayscale is, of course, also a huge factor of this current 50% sell-off, due to the fact that a lot of grayscale holders right now are getting rid of their holdings to put it into a spot ETF, which is, of course, much more cheaper than holding it in a grayscale right now. You can also see that grayscale is still by far one of the biggest holders at this particular moment, holding around 619,000 Bitcoin with a total holdings of around $26 billion. So it's very important to mention that this is, of course, a huge factor. And even if the outflux of grayscale continues, this will, of course, create a lot more selling pressure due to the fact that the influx is definitely not as big as expected yet. Now we have to take this to the lower time frames right now. And there are 3 key levels that I think are extremely important to look for right now. Well, before we go into this chart and to look at the 43.5K, the 44.6K, or a short from the 45.7K, I'm interested in looking at this chart right here. And that is the Tether Dominance. The Tether Dominance represents actually the amount of Tether bought. So when people sell their cryptocurrencies, they usually swap it for Tether, either for other cryptocurrencies or for this particular stablecoin, to wait on the sidelines until the market gets better, or until they're kind of looking for that bullish reversal again, so they can then enter again, particularly for lower prices, of course. Now, when looking at the Tether Dominance here, the dominance of Tether against the whole market right now is sitting at around 5.79%. Well, at this particular moment, this is not really looking that strong. You can see clearly that, in my opinion, what we're doing here, we're building some sort of distribution phase, something similar to what we have been building right here as well, due to the fact that we have still that massive gap below that we need to fill up here. So what I'm actually interested in looking for some sort of pullback, you know, at least one more pullback towards this range, tapping into this range right here, and therefore looking for further continuation to the upside. And that would kind of complete that invert head and shoulders formation as well, which a lot of traders trade here. But again, you know, this all comes just from that, you know, distribution, that expansion, and then you could say manipulation, and therefore, you know, gathering enough short side liquidity for Bitcoin, taking out the majority of early shorters already in the market, and to therefore, you know, flip bearish here. So therefore, the Tether Dominance is actually a key factor to look at, and that could include that the moment that we close below the 5.7%, and that could be the catalyst for that expansion towards the upside here. And I think that will be the moment when Bitcoin already would have broken the 43.5K, and I think we're directly heading towards the 44.6K. And the reason why the 44.6K is just because of this particular area of resistance right here that you can see previously held at support, at resistance here, at support here, at support here, and you know, of course, also at resistance here. So it's a very important level to look at right here based upon this structure. The 45.7 is kind of the last level I'm looking for a short from. And that is, of course, this overall range and the distribution that we can find there. If you draw the fixed range volume profile from the left to the right, it will get you to the value area low of that range right here. This is where the volume significantly increases. And this is also where we saw a major drop off. So people that are still trapped right here potentially will exit on break even. As shorters know that, they will enter also new short positions. So you should take advantage of a retracement back towards that level here. So another reason is, of course, to look at the liquidation heat map on the lower or the higher time frame. The main reason why we want to look at the macro levels right here, in combination, of course, with what we're currently seeing on the liquidation heat map, is that we practically have a tremendous amount of liquidity sitting below here of roughly 2.5 billion, 500 million, 1.14 billion, 1.12 billion. This is roughly sitting around $5 billion of long liquidations, all sitting around the $34,000, all the way coming down towards the $32,000. Well, this kind of makes sense, right? Because the moment we start breaking above this critical weekly resistance, so we can literally break right now and just highlight this particular zone. This was at the 31.5K here. And if you look at the daily level, you kind of had that closure roughly around there from the first daily candle that closed above that major weekly resistance. This was that, what we call, you know, the Chinese wall, the major resistance right here that we had to break for a confirmation to the upside, which then was a catalyst for a massive pump here in the markets. This was kind of that major resistance that we had to break here, which we couldn't break for a very long period of time. Now at this particular moment, we did that. So all these early guys that entered right here after that confirmation are still there holding onto their bags right now, hoping that Bitcoin will continue to the upside. But this is, of course, where we have billions of dollars of liquidations right here. So this could be, of course, an easy fix, breaking down, and therefore look for that particular continuation right here to the upside as well, taking out the majority of that liquidity right here. So that's the main reason why I think that we should still come down, at least gather that liquidity. Another thing that we have to take into consideration as well is, of course, the next catalyst. And that will probably be the Bitcoin halving somewhere in April. This is in 92 days from now. We have around 13,900 blocks remaining. And therefore, usually what tends to happen is around the Bitcoin halving, you see that next expansion to the upside based on the previous cycle. So if you look here at 2017, we broke out of that box here. We expanded. We had that pullback, and around the halving where we came back towards the upside here. Same thing for 2021. We finally broke, we flipped it into support, but again, we at least came down once to touch it, to take out early longers, to then look for a continuation to the upside. And this is where we are right now. We are practically right at that expansion, but we have not seen that retest yet. And this could align very well with the Bitcoin halving as well. Now, if you're not interested in shorting Bitcoin and therefore, looking to hold on to your Bitcoin, it might be also interesting to swap some of your Bitcoin for Ethereum at this particular moment. And the main reason is, of course, because of the next conspiracy, you could say, where they're trying to already apply for the Ethereum spot ETF. So this Ethereum narrative right now is on fire. I do believe that Ethereum is still extremely undervalued, and it's actually holding up extremely strong against that correction that Bitcoin had of around 15%. Therefore, it's just a matter of time before the Ethereum spot ETF gets approved, and the moment everyone starts talking about it, that's already the moment where you should be holding on towards some Ethereum. So when looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart here, you can see clearly that the Ethereum is gaining dominance against Bitcoin right now, as we have successfully retested the previous lows twice, and we have now expanded on the weekly beautifully to the upside right here. So if we have this pullback and you come back towards the 0.055, that's, I think, the moment for you to potentially put and swap some of your Bitcoin into Ethereum to look for further continuation to the upside here. So to conclude one more time here, I am interested in looking for particular short positions. The last reason why as well, if you go to the lower time frame on the liquidation heat map as well, we still have a bunch of long side liquidity built up as well here. If you go to the 3 daily, it's more visible, but there is still roughly around $1 billion of liquidations all combined at the top between $43,000 and $45,000 as well here. So that's why I want to see that combination of an expansion to the upside followed by a potential retracement continuation to the downside. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to actually enter a short position right here around the 44.6 right there. Probably a 20x leverage, placing my stop loss above here or just let it go. And also place another one roughly around there and then potentially look to increase my position once I'm filled here and have like an average order roughly sitting around this particular zone here. So if you get rejected already from the 44.6, I am in position. If we get to the 45.7, I will execute another position right here, which then of course, gives me an average value of this level right there, which can then, potentially lead into a stop loss being around the 46.5K, roughly around there. Therefore, I'm targeting the 35K. And of course, I will also start scaling my position all the way down here. So this could lead into a temporarily downwards momentum here, but at least I want to wait for that push towards the upside. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you guys see you in the next video. Make sure one more time to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And again, see you on the live streams. Would love to see you there. We are trading on a day-to-day basis and of course are benefiting and learning every single day. See you soon. Bye-bye.